What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Young Rich Podcast. Today, I'm very excited to be here today. We have a lot of good content to talk about. A lot of stuff has happened in the past, 48 to 72 hours timeline. We got a lot of stuff to discuss. The NBA Cup Championship just ended, 2 days ago on Tuesday. We're going to be discussing that. Milwaukee did come out on top of that game in a shocking, a bit of an upset of a game for me. I expected a more competitive game from OKC. But, okay, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Today, we won't be talking about college football. I will be saving that for another special episode after, Friday. We'll be discussing the college football games coming up and, things like that. We'll do some early in the morning before the big games start on Friday. But first things first, okay? This is one of the biggest issues I have with NFL content, NFL analysis. People on TV today. Listen, we get to this point where we start rating quarterbacks at a very, in an unfair type of scale. Okay, it's. I don't hate on quarterbacks. I respect the good quarterbacks, the Josh Allens of the world, the Lamar Jacksons, the Joe Burrows, the Jalen Hurts. I appreciate what they do for the league. I enjoy watching them play football. But what bothers me the most is when, and I'm on Nick Wright's side on this type of thing, because a lot of people go against Nick Wright when you start talking about quarterbacks and start ranking them throughout the year and who's been playing better and who's the most important, most impactful quarterback this year. Okay, but what Josh Allen is doing right now has been absolutely remarkable, okay? He's, scored 40, 80-something points as a team on offense these last couple of weeks. He had 6 touchdowns in one game. He's been playing great football. He just beat the Detroit Lions. Yes, they were banged up, but he still beat the Detroit Lions. I would say he's doing it with a little underwhelming, supporting cast compared to some of these other teams, right? So I understand the whole Josh Allen is the MVP of the league right now. He is looking like that type of player, okay? But what bothers me the most is when, and this goes to listen, I'm a Raider fan. I'm a diehard Raider fan, okay? I'm not going to be out here, glazing Patrick Mahomes. Any chance I can get to disrespect Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to disrespect Patrick Mahomes, okay? But listen, back-to-back Super Bowl champions. He's won 3 Super Bowls, multiple MVPs, multiple Super Bowl MVPs. You know what? They're the one-loss season this year. They only lost to Josh Allen in that game where you just lost. You've dealt with some back-end injuries on that secondary. Your defense has not been as great, okay? But listen, Patrick Mahomes just wins football games, okay? And I know the numbers aren't flashy, and since before D-Hop, he had the interception situation where he was tied second in the league for interceptions. You bring in D-Hop, that kind of changed the narrative, and now the offense has been looking better, okay? Not perfect, but better, right? And we kind of get in these situations because it was Tom Brady his whole career, right? This hurts for me saying this because I hate Patrick Mahomes so much, right? But it was just like the same thing they had for Brady. Brady will just win games and get by and just, get locked in and be focused for the postseason when he really started to, put his foot on people's throats, right? Win his division, cruise control throughout the regular year, win whatever games you had to, right? Boom. And then you get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, Tom Brady looks like the best quarterback in the NFL, okay? And he was winning Super Bowls, making it to the AFC Championship game every year, right? He was doing these things. Only one MVP year in his entire career, okay? How many Super Bowl MVPs? I believe he had, end up with 4 or 5. So what he did for his team when he was in New England, when he was Tampa Bay, was win in the postseason. He was a great quarterback in the postseason. And I know he had his stunts, his games where he didn't look great and perfect in the postseason, but that's human nature. Nobody's going to look great every single game of their career, right? That's just going to happen. You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs, your good years and your bad years, okay? But when we start to overrate some of these QBs, like all year long, every time Lamar Jackson played a tomato can of a team, he goes out there versus Cincinnati, throws for 400 yards. He goes against that Washington Commanders defense and throws for 300-something yards, multiple touchdowns, and looks like the clear-cut best quarterback in the league. And then all of a sudden, everybody's on the bandwagon. Everyone's like, man, this is the best quarterback I've seen ever in my life. You got Rex Ryan on national television saying, this is the best quarterback I've ever seen in my entire life. This is the greatest quarterback in the NFL history. Like, they are putting him in some very, very elite conversations, okay? And then, as soon as we get to a situation where you see a guy like Lamar Jackson, you go against Cleveland and Pitt, and you lose both games. Okay, you lose both games in a nitty gritty situation. Those grinded out AFC North games that we love to see. You don't win those games. Why? Because Lamar Jackson does not show up the way he shows up against some of these other teams. And listen, I was the biggest Lamar Jackson supporter coming out of college the year he won the Heisman as a sophomore. His junior year when he kind of fell off statistically and people were underlooking it. When he got drafted in the last pick in the first round. I was supporting Lamar Jackson his entire career, and I love how far he's developed as a player. From when he came in, he was just basically another running back playing quarterback, and now all of a sudden you get into now he's able to throw the ball a little bit, okay? But there is still weaknesses to his game when it comes to throwing the football, and teams like Cleveland, like Pittsburgh, they have a formula for Lamar Jackson, right? And you could say whatever you want about Cleveland. It was a fluke game, whatever. Those AFC North games, listen, you have them. The Cleveland has a solid defense, that hasn't looked great at all at always the times this year. But those division games, the AFC North, anything can happen. You still have Myles Garrett, who's a menace. You still have supporting cast around him defensively to help minimize Lamar Jackson. And then you start to see Lamar Jackson struggle. And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, man, he played a hell of a game. He played some great football. He came out here. He looked remarkable, okay? Let's relax. The same situation when he played KC week 1. He got into a situation where he had a chance to win the game. Everyone said, man, this guy looks like the second best quarterback in football. This guy is right there behind Patrick Mahomes. He looks like the truth. Yep. But did you see the same 3 missed throws he had to win the game? Missed all 3 of them. Overthrew Zay Flowers twice. Overthrew Rashad Bateman in the corner of the end zone. And then Isaiah Likely. A little bit of a high pass. A little inaccurate pass for the game on the line. Big toe doesn't make it. Boom, boom, yada, yada, yada. Okay? And then all of a sudden, they start rolling. They start winning games. Why? Because they put they put the ball in the hands of Derrick Henry. Okay? What is the Baltimore Ravens record when Derrick Henry has more than 16 carries? They're undefeated. Okay? Every other loss they've had, Lamar Jackson has had more than 28 pass attempts. Okay? Same situation with Jalen Hurts. Okay? And it just frustrates me so much when people start overrating QBs and over analyzing what's going on. Lamar Jackson just had himself a hell of a game against the New York Giants, and all of a sudden these guys are like, man, this guy again, he's having the best year of his career. Give him another MVP. Like, we've got to just we've got to just relax when it comes to over analyzing these games and putting them in positions and categories they don't deserve to be in. Okay? I get it. MVPs, regular season, it does matter, right? Because it can create you a legacy. Aaron Rodgers, besides that one Super Bowl, created his legacy in the regular season and falling short in the NFC Championship games, right? In conference championship games. Okay? So I understand that aspect to it, but to say he's the best quarterback in the NFL, is just it's not realistic. Because every time you put him against a competent opponent, a team that knows what to do to limit Lamar Jackson, you start to see his struggles. He cannot beat elite teams as a passer. You just can't. He hasn't done it against KC. He hasn't done it against Pittsburgh. He's 1-4 against Pittsburgh. Now you're going to go play Pittsburgh at home again, so you have another chance to change the narrative, I guess. But we have these same situations over and over and over again. The same situation with Jalen Hurts last year. We got into this little funk. He was throwing the ball too much. He was trying to show his worth. And it's the same situation that they had last year in the AFC Championship game. You went away from your identity. You relied too much on trying to make Lamar Jackson be someone he's not, right? And it hurt you. It caused you to lose games and lose a lot of big games that you need. So now we're into a situation where Josh Allen's having this remarkable run, right? But again, he still has multiple losses this year. He still has, 3 losses this year? And with everything going on, KC's still the best team in the league. One-loss team, the only one-loss team in the league. Patrick Mahomes, they still have a chance to maybe lose some games with Patrick Mahomes' injury, which we'll get into later, but you're still sitting in a situation where as much as you want to hate on Patrick Mahomes and not being able to put up these MVP-type numbers, okay, offensive tackle play, left tackle play this year has been absolutely atrocious. We're possibly the worst in the NFL. Boom. He's been hit. He's been most sacked in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And he's been hit a lot, which came to that injury, right? That happened against Cleveland. Okay, that's secondary. Since Jalen Watson has been hurt, that secondary has not looked the same. Okay, Chris Jones has been doing a lot for that defense. Okay, that defense is kind of coming through, but they've been great against the run. That secondary has not looked great these last 4 to 5 weeks. But again, what is the key denominator of this total situation. He just keeps winning games, okay? So until further notice, Patrick Mahomes should be the best player in the league, okay? The best quarterback in the league, okay? His resume speaks for itself, okay? Listen, last year we had the same situation where it's like, man, these guys are not going to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to win. They can't find a way to win against bad teams. They can't score offensively. They're horrible, right? But guess what? Every time they needed to score points to win games, they came through and did it. Doesn't matter how many points they needed, but they scored enough points and their defense came through, and that's all you needed. That's all you wrote, okay? And the same situation is going this year. He's doing just enough to win games. Tom Brady in his prime was doing just enough to win games, right? And so this whole, him not being the best quarterback in the league has just blown my mind. Like, how much do we, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, what do these three, Jalen Hurts, what do these four guys have in common? They all lost to Patrick Mahomes when it mattered most. All of them, all four of them. Lamar Jackson, it's happened multiple times. Josh Allen, it's happened multiple times. Josh Allen has only had one great playoff run, and that was the 13-second game against Kansas City. Other than that, Josh Allen has never had an amazing playoff run. Okay, last year everyone's glazing him against the Chiefs. Like, man, this guy really came through. This guy really played his butt off against KC. But it's just unfortunate he played against Patrick Mahomes. But did he really? 186 yards. I know he had a couple big rushing plays in that game as well. But 186 yards passing is a great game for you. Like, the standard of these of quarterback play these days is just terrible. Like, I just don't understand how everyone can confidently come out here week after week talking about all these different quarterbacks being great players, right? And then Jalen Hurts, the same situation last year. You've seen the situation. You've seen the numbers. 2-2 start to the season when he throws the ball more than 30 times. Since then, since he's thrown the ball for less than 30 times, they're undefeated. Why? Saquon Barkley is the best player on that team, the most impactful player on that team. And you can say whatever you want. As when Saquon Barkley gets his touches, just like Derrick Henry in Baltimore, they win football games. Okay? Last week, you got away with it. You were able to throw the ball, but you also played a Pittsburgh Steelers team with no George Pickens. And when that Pittsburgh Steelers team has no George Pickens, they're very limited offensively, and we've seen that, okay? So there was, a lot of stuff going your way with what you were able to do, but now we shouldn't let this be the new you, okay? And so, again, until further notice, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, and it hurts me to say that. Obviously, I see him twice a year, every single year. We didn't beat him at all this year. Beat him once last year on Christmas. Thank God, you know what I'm saying? But what he's done to that division, it's a nightmare, okay? I'm just going to say it straight up. We know that, okay? But until further notice, he is the best quarterback in the league. And Josh Allen, what he's been doing this year, sure, remarkable. MVP conversations, 100% deserved. But we're not going to say he's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes because of regular season statistics. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's had an all-pro receiver in Stephon Diggs, still fell short. You know what I'm saying? He's had all these great players around him, great defensively. He had these, this year was kind of a reset year for him, but before that, they had all the pieces on defense. They had all the pieces on offense. And so, again, it just bothers me when people go out here and say, man, this guy's the best quarterback in the league. This guy, because it's every week, it's somebody different. Couple last year we had Tua Tagovailoa in the MVP conversation, and then Tua was having these remarkable year, was number one in passing touchdowns, number one in passing yards, completion percentage, QBR, all this stuff, right? And all of a sudden this year, shit, you get paid, you have to lose some pieces, all of a sudden shit is the fan, and now he doesn't look good, okay? And then even last year, against winning teams. I think the only winning team he's beaten in the last 2 years was the Dallas Cowboys, okay? And the Dallas Cowboys are the Dallas Cowboys. They can't beat any good teams either. So it's like, it bothers me when we have to sit here and hear this stuff year after year, week after week, different QBs getting put into conversations they don't belong in. Let Lamar Jackson prove something in the playoffs before we put this guy as a Hall of Fame, one of the best to ever do it. Like, come on, let this guy win a playoff game. He's won, 2 playoff games his entire career? Come on, bro. Like, this is just, this bothers me so much, okay? And I'm not trying to hate on any of these other QBs, okay? Josh Allen's been to, 2 AFC Championship games his entire career? Lamar Jackson's been to 1, and we see how that turned out. Okay, clearly got outplayed. Clearly was playing out of his element. And so, again, until further notice, and the only QB who I defended my entire career, and his entire career was Joe Burrow. I said Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in football until further notice. This year he's putting up MVP numbers in a situation where he has to score 40 points, and even then that's not enough to win games, okay? And we've seen how bad their situation is over there in Cincinnati. So now we get into a situation where the only person to beat Patrick Mahomes was Joe Burrow, and he took his team to the Super Bowl. Okay, and we've seen how that happened. Didn't have any offensive line protection. Was sacked 7 times in the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald came up with a game-winning play. Right? We all know how that goes. But again, same situation. Joe Burrow, one unnecessary roughness flag from going back to the Super Bowl and beating Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City again. Okay, and I get it. What if, it was a flag? I'm not trying to say the flag screwed him over. I'm not going to blame the refs. I'm not going to do none of that. But he was one bad, because it was a bad flag. The defender, I forget who came out there, but hit Patrick Mahomes late. It was a bad flag, okay? It was a good call, bad time to have that, especially except they believe it was like 3rd and 10. It was going to be 4th down, game on the line type situation. So, again, Joe Burrow deserves to be in that discussion. Number 2 quarterback in the league. Josh Allen, he could hang out there at number 3. Lamar Jackson is the 4th best quarterback in football, and there's no other way to put it. That is it. He is number 4, okay? And I would even put Matthew Stafford over him simply because Matthew Stafford has a Super Bowl. He's had playoff success. He doesn't disappear in the biggest of moments, okay? So, again, that's how I feel about these quarterbacks, and if you have a problem with that, we can come out and have a conversation. The Lions injuries, the Detroit Lions. Okay, listen. Breaking news. This hurt my fantasy team this last week, but losing David Montgomery for the rest of the season. Listen, I still love Jahmyr Gibbs, and I still think that they could be a very, very solid team. Listen, you're getting to a situation where I'm not worried about David Montgomery not being there, because I believe Jahmyr Gibbs can fill that role. He could just get more touches, get him involved in the pass game more. I think him being the true running back 1 is going to be even better for this offense, just because the way he could, his speed and his ability to catch out the backfield opens up this offense in different ways that Montgomery really couldn't. Although Montgomery was able to catch a couple of passes out the backfield every now and then, I still think Jahmyr Gibbs offers more for them. Screen game, quick game, get the ball in his hands, let him go make plays. That's all an option now, right? And it just adds a different speed aspect to your game. Jahmyr Gibbs, we know how explosive he is as a player, and somebody who wants to see him get more touches. This is a good moment for him. I love this for him, right? I still sometimes get bothered when he goes a game with only 9 touches and like 80-something yards, So I love this for Jahmyr Gibbs going forward. Obviously, I don't love this for the Detroit Lions, because this was their power back, that short line, that close out a game back, that you give him the ball, he's going to get you those short down situations. And his resurgence getting into Detroit, coming from Chicago, listen, it's been amazing to watch. You just extended this guy to a 2-year extension. And it's just, listen, it's just all falling apart. Man, listen, this is a very San Francisco-like situation. That Super Bowl hangover, you come back the next year, you're like, man, we're going to make a push for it. We're going to try to go back-to-back, make it back to the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden, your bodies just don't allow you to do that, right? And that's the NFL sometimes. You get hit with those types of situations, and so now you just got to, face it head on and try to figure this stuff out, right? And I still, the biggest question about this offense now, although the defense is having a lot of issues now, listen, Carlton Davis, Aiden Hutchinson, and Zaloni. Listen, I left the list over there, and I don't want to get up and cancel my recording, but 12 people on injury reserve, and most of them are on the defensive side of things. Your backups and backups and backups are all on IR. It's just not been a good season for the health of the Detroit Lions, right? So the biggest question now comes to, can Jared Goff be that guy? Can he be a floor raiser, a ceiling raiser in the playoffs, right? Can he win in a shootout-like nature? Because at this point, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get into one of these shootouts with Kansas City, possibly, with Philadelphia, with all these teams over there. And so the question is, do we trust Jared Goff to do so? Because we understand Jared Goff, with all the pieces around him, full health, this team is belt to ass. They go out there and they play physical. They dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. So now you're lacking that physical domination that we've seen early in the year because of lack of, depth in the defense specifically, right? Obviously due to injury. So now you lose one of your best running backs, that 1-2 punch that you had, the best 1-2 punch in football, okay? So now you're down to just Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, right? So now the question comes to, can Jared Goff be the reason this team wins the Super Bowl, okay? Or makes it to the Super Bowl, right? Because that's obviously the goal, is to get there first, okay? And I know a lot of people have been putting Jared Goff in civilian categories when it comes to quarterbacks, top 10-ish, outside 10, like, 12 looking in to 10, or, 9 to 10-ish in that range. But I have faith in Jared Goff with the weapons he has around him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you know how much I love him. You still have Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta. Although he's been underutilized this year, this is a chance for him to step up. David Montgomery, you get into a shootout situation, you start seeing him be used more offensively. And I think that's going to be a huge key piece going forward, is getting him involved. But you still have a great O-line. You still have Penix. You can still run the ball into anybody you want, right? And again, listen, I know a lot of people are down on them right now because of simply they've given up, 40 points a game the last 2 weeks or close to it. They've been in shootouts the last 2 weeks. You won one, you lost to Buffalo, obviously, last Sunday. But I believe in Jared Goff and his ability to lead a team, to lead a charge, right? I still question, can he, go toe-to-toe with somebody like, Patrick Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen? Like, can I see him, or like a Matthew Stafford team that sneaks into the playoffs? Like, can I see him outscoring a team like quarterbacks like that? That's a tough question, right? I'm optimistic. I love Detroit. I want Detroit to win. I want to see that city, have a team to be proud of, right? So I'm on the side of yes. I think Jared Goff can, because you're still going to have a solid run game. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be, with the way the rest of the season is going to go, how he's going to be used in the playoffs as well, and you're still playing for that division. I think he's going to be in the discussion as a top 6, top 7 back in football without David Montgomery. And I really do believe that. He was one of those guys, I wanted him to get more touches going forward. And I think you're not going to miss a beat with the run game, okay? You're still going to have all the play action stuff come up. Ben Johnson's still going to be able to do all his trick plays he wants. But now, obviously, it comes down to just, can you score more points than the other team? So, obviously, you lost the last shootout to Buffalo, like I just previously stated. And I think this can be, listen, shootouts can go either way, right? So it's hard to come here and sit down and say, yes, I think this team can win and shootout week after week after week. But I'm uncertain, right? So I'm going to go with the fact that I'm going to fuck it. I'm going to say yes, let's go. Jared Goff, this was my team to win the Super Bowl this year, and I'm sticking with them. I'm not changing up. Let's go. Let's ride. Obviously, if they play Sam Darnold again, I'm still going for my brother Sam Darnold. # fight on. I still love you, brother. But I'm still riding with this team. I think Jared Goff can lead them to the promised land. I think he can get them over the hump, because I think he's still an underrated quarterback. His issues this last year and this offseason was dealing with pressure, his numbers against pressure. And now this year, he's been great against pressure. Okay? So he's gotten better. He's, and we were missing the kind of, a lot of the big plays a lot of heavy passing plays that we had last year compared to what we are this year with this offense, because of how dominant they've been early in the year, right? But again, I think I have faith in Jared Goff to do what it needs to be done to lead his team to the playoffs. I know I just ranted on for about 5 minutes trying to figure out if I should trust him or not, but I'm trusting him. Let's ride with the Detroit Lions. Still my Super Bowl pick, and I'm going for him this year. Kirk Cousins was just recently benched for Michael Penix. My God, Michael Penix. Boom. Kirk Cousins was benched. His dead cap, if he was to be cut today, would be $65 million going for the Atlanta Falcons, the second highest dead cap in NFL history. If he was to be traded before the 2025 season, Atlanta would owe $37.5 million of his salary to whatever team trades for him. Okay, but obviously, listen, outside looking in, the way Kirk Cousins has played this year, there is no trade package for Kirk Cousins. There is nobody that's coming out here saying, yes, I want Kirk Cousins to lead my team in the playoffs and as as a quarterback one in this league, right? Because there's a lot of, listen, he's not going to go to the AFC. I wouldn't want him to go to anybody in the AFC because there's just so many high-powered quarterbacks over there. You're going to put yourself in an even worse situation, you know? So, and I've heard, you know, let's say Brock Purdy and the 49ers don't work out the way they want, and Kyle Shanahan makes a call, says, yo, I want you to come be my backup. If anything happens to Brock Purdy, I want you to step in there and take over, you know? So there's some thoughts going on. You know, there's different situations. Kirk Cousins was a guy going in before he got paid by Atlanta. I wanted him to play for Vegas, right, and to be a quarterback. I'm still open to that opportunity, especially if you get a guy like, let's say we draft the Shador Sanders, and you get a guy in there that can kind of lead the way, be a veteran presence. I don't know if he'd be open to that, because obviously we know how he felt about when they drafted Michael Penix in Atlanta, right? But I would be open to a situation like that. Because right now, listen, everybody's trying to get their resurgence, you know, in their career. Sam Darnold is currently doing his resurgence thing. Baker Mayfield already did it. Geno Smith already did it. Daniel Jones went to the Vikings to resurge his career. He's trying to get on the path. Russell Wilson, I'm pretty sure he just extended his career a couple years. Justin Fields is still on that trying to figure it out type thing. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that are trying to find their way in the NFL and extend their career, right? So, listen, Kirk Cousins has looked god-awful, right? That Achilles has just not looked right. And shout out to Kevin Wildes for this one, but he did talk about, you know, there's only one pro athlete who has been able to come back from Achilles injury and look like he never missed a step, which was Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant missed about, a year and a half of basketball, maybe even longer. I think 500-something days was as long as he missed of basketball, right? And then he came back and didn't look like he didn't miss a beat, right? Now he's playing some of the most efficient basketball of his career these last 2 years, and it's been phenomenal to watch him come back for that type of injury, okay? And then you start to talk about Aaron Rodgers. These last 2 weeks, he's looked pretty darn good. Has he collapsed and not come through with victories? Yes, but the whole him coming back from Achilles surgery in a matter of 6 months, 7 months, he's going to do it on his own time. He's going to come back if they can make the playoffs. He was living this theory, this myth that he could come back earlier than need to be. Okay? And you've seen that, you know, that year gap that everyone thinks Achilles, boom, come back in a year, I'll be back as new, be back and be brand new. Okay? That year mark, he comes back, starts the year, clearly doesn't look the same. 4 months, 5 months into the season, and now he's pushing for 300-yard games back to back. He did it once, and that's the first time he's done it in I believe 32 games. So it has been. Maybe it's one of those situations where Kirk Cousins needs more time to fully recover. And I know as a quarterback, you don't want to say that because you miss a year and a half of football. You know, there's not a lot of teams that are going to be out there wanting you back on their team. And there's questions about you. You know, like Atlanta would not have invested that much money into Kirk Cousins if he was going to miss half the season. Okay? Would the Michael Penix pick look a lot better if he did miss half the season? Yes, it would have, okay? But I am in the belief of something like that, ligaments, knees, ACLs, all this stuff. It just takes so much time, and when people try to rush themselves back, people think they have a formula for a torn ligament. People think they have a formula for Achilles, right? And we've seen people, J.K. Dobbins, for example, you know, I'm happy he's having his healthy year this year, but he just injury after injury, you know, and it's just constantly, you know, re-aggravating his injuries, right? And it's just one of those things where you just sometimes have to take longer to get right? And so this is a key, you know, an important point because Kirk Cousins is older, so his body takes longer to get recovered and to get better, and clearly his zip on the ball is not there at all whatsoever. Zero. It's just non-existent. So maybe just some more time, some more rehab, some more recovery, gets that strength back in his heel, and by the time he goes to see another team, he's looking like Kirk Cousins of last year. You know what I'm saying? So, again, you know, that's something to take into consideration because I think that does play a huge point, okay? But let's talk about the juicy stuff of this conversation. Michael Penix is going to be the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. And I've heard some mixed thoughts, some mixed emotions about this decision today. I've heard people talk about, you know, they shouldn't have done this for a team that's trying to push for the playoffs. You put a lot of pressure on a rookie to come in and step in and, you know, lead this team. He's going to be a rookie. He's going to have to go through the rookie curve, the rookie ups and downs. And if you go through the down, to end the year, going in the next year, this whole offseason, everyone's going to be like, man, I thought we had two quarterbacks, and now we have zero. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of pressure on Michael Penix to succeed. But let me tell you this. I was right about every single quarterback this last draft. Caleb Williams, I said he had the most potential, first overall pick, best quarterback to draft, needed a lot of work. Clearly, that was it. I said they're holding on to the ball, extending the plays, boom. I said Bo Nix was going to be one of the best day one ready guys. Okay, he's going to be there. Ceiling, obviously, is not going to be as high as Caleb and Jaden Daniels. Boom. But I said he's going to be an okay quarterback. I still don't think he's going to be great. And so far, I'm still very accurate on that decision. Has he been great this year? No. He's had a lot of ups and downs, so that's to be determined. He's had some solid football. He's been able to start from day one. Okay? Boom. Jaden Daniels, I said he was going to be Rookie of the Year. I said he's going to be the best day one ready quarterback. And that's exactly what happened. I said J.J. McCarthy needed everything around him to be perfect, to be great. And we're going to figure that out next year. Did I miss a quarterback? And Drake May, I'm not going to lie to you, he has yet to prove to me that he's like great or good. So, and I said that I did not like him being that. I thought there was, lack of film and lack of big-time plays that made me think he should be a top 3 pick. So, as of right now, I believe I'm still confident on that statement, okay? Michael Penix was the third best quarterback on my list when we were talking about quarterbacks coming into the year last year. I know people want to stay away from him for age, shoulder injuries. He's played a lot of games, but he is that guy. That NBA, 4-year guy who comes into the league, that Jaime Jaquez, those guys who come in and are immediate impacts, that Dalton Connect type guy into our system, okay? The guy who comes in and is ready to play. He's had a lot of reps. He ran a NFL-style offense with his OC in Washington, who is now the new OC in Miami, okay? And he played with 3 first-round caliber players at receiver. Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, and Roma Dunze, okay? And he has the prettiest deep ball of any of these quarterbacks in the NFL this year. What is the key significance of this playing in Atlanta? Atlanta, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, deep threats. Kyle Pitts, vertical speed threat. He's an athletic tight end. Let him use his speed to throw the ball down vertical down the field. Okay, he is going to fit right into the scheme. He's got a good running back right behind him, which he had at Washington. Okay, he's going to have a good O-line. I think he's going to play great. Okay, let me rephrase that. I think he's going to play good, quality football. And he's got a soft end to the schedule. I think he's going to go out here. He's going to look very good. There's going to be a couple mistakes, obviously, nerves, getting into the NFL. But I think his transition into being right into the NFL and being ready to play is going to be quicker and better than Bo Nix's. Right? What I'm saying that is he's going to come in, he's going to look fine, he's going to get the ball out, he's going to throw with a lot of leverage on these deep throws, he's going to give his playmakers chances to make plays. I don't think he's going to turn the ball over a lot. I expect him to get the ball out fast, not take too many hits, be very accurate with the football, but I think he's going to have less downs than Bo Nix did. Okay, so I think it's going to be more steady, more slow incline than up and down for the rest of the year, especially the way the schedule is going. So I am all in on Michael Penix being a starter. I love Michael Penix. I was a big fan of him in college, although he played for Washington and dropped 40 points on USC like everybody else did that year. All right, but I love this. I know not many people. I know there's a lot of pressure on his plate right now, but I think he can come in there, and with the weapons he has, the youth he has to that team, I think it's going to be great for him. And so I'm so excited to see him play. But now we're going to get into some of these Saturday games. First Saturday game, Patrick Mahomes, Houston playing at Kansas City on Saturday. The Netflix special, I believe this is what it is, unless it's the Christmas one. That's going to be on Netflix. But we have the Patrick Mahomes injury, right? He leaves the game against Cleveland with the ankle injury, and then, Carson Wentz ends up finishing that game. And we know Patrick Mahomes, his entire career, he's been that guy that doesn't want to miss games. He wants to be in there every snap. He doesn't like missing games. He's going to play hurt. He's going to play injured. And he even stated he feels like he plays better when he's injured than when he does when he's healthy. Why? Because you have to be more technically sound when you're injured because of, you can't push off this way. You can't get as much power into your throws when you throwing like this and different angles and things like that, right? So listen, this is if I'm KC, obviously I don't want my guy to play, right? Houston's been struggling as it is. Go out there and the Houston Texans front four has been getting after the quarterback better than second best in the league, second in sacks against opposing quarterbacks. That Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter have been absolutely monsters. Two DNs that have 10 plus sacks this year. Listen, the Texans are going to get after the quarterback. That's one thing they do very, very effectively. So this would be a game I would worry, right? Because last game you had the same situation. You just wanted Patrick Mahomes to get out the game with no injuries and healthy. And what happened? Myles Garrett, here we go. He's chasing you around all day. That Cleveland D-line with that left tackle issues just got after Mahomes and got him injured, okay? And so now we get into a situation where you want to protect your quarterback, but you also want to continue to compete for your 1 seed. You want to play for home field advantage. And now I am in a situation where not only is this a must-win game for Houston, Houston's been looking like absolutely dog shit this entire year. You haven't looked good. Bobby Slowick, who was somebody that was so high on last year, has looked very stale when it comes to offensive play calling, very predictable. And now, you lose Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, somebody who was, I thought was going to be the best Houston receiver last year before he got injured, and he was. He was the best receiver on that team before he got injured, and then Nico Collins took over as that guy. Now Nico Collins has looked like one of the best receivers in football, okay? This is got to be a must-win for Houston. You've got to go out here and beat a good team, because for that, you haven't, right? You had that lucky game against Buffalo where it was just, it was just a bad matchup for Buffalo back then. You didn't have a solid wide receiver one. You were missing Dalton Kincaid. There was a lot of issues with playing Buffalo back then. The matchup was in your favor, okay? But this is a must-win for Houston. You got to prove that you just won your division. You got to prove that you are who you say you are, that you are a competent roster, that you are a playoff contender. Some teams are putting you as Super Bowl contenders. MVP conversation for CJ Stroud, which has not lived up to that hype and that expectation. So I think you still need to come out here and keep your foot on the pedal, right? You put your foot on their throats, go out here and try to win this game and dominate this game, right? Because I think you can. And Patrick Mahomes, listen, if he goes out there and plays through an injury and then gets re-injured and just does all this stuff, I'm sitting back here like, three-peat is no longer on notice, right? But at the same time, that would suck. I don't want to ever play on somebody to get injured. I know deep down my Raiders fandom is like, really, let's go, let's get Patrick Mahomes injured. But no, I don't ever want to see somebody get injured, okay? As much as I hate an individual or I hate teams or hate players, I don't want to ever see anybody get injured. That's just the wrong way to go about it. Would I like to see him get sacked 7 times and come out this game clean? Yes. Okay. Would I like to see him throw a pick 6 or have a fumble or 2 and lose his game and come out clean? Yes. Right. Okay. So again, this is a must-win for Houston. Especially if you come out here and play Carson Wentz and the backup goes in. If Carson Wentz goes out there and beats you, that's just bad sign, a bad energy after you won a very weak division and going into the playoffs. Because listen, Houston needs this. They need to get their offense going. They need to get CJ Stroud going. You need to get some confidence going into the playoffs to at least have a chance to make a run. Because yes, you'll be playing at home. You'll have a home field advantage for that first game. But it's just, it has not looked pretty. So there's a lot of pressure on you guys to come through. CJ Stroud needs to play some good football, take care of the ball, get his playmakers the ball. Tank Dell, let's get this guy going again, man. I thought he was going to be so great this year. I bought in on all my fantasy football leagues, and that has not been the case. He has arguably been the most disappointing receiver outside of Deontay Johnson this year, because that has been absolutely atrocious. 2 guys I bought into, and now neither of them get the ball anymore. So that's been rough. But getting into the second game, discussed it a little bit briefly earlier. We have Pittsburgh playing at Baltimore on Saturday at, again, Lamar Jackson 1-4 versus Pittsburgh. You want to be in that MVP conversation. You want to be in that elite conversation, and you have a 1-4 record versus Pittsburgh, who they've literally beat you with Kenny Pickett multiple times last year. You've lost to like very poor quarterback play since Big Ben has left. You lost to Mason Rudolph. You lost to Kenny Pickett. You have lost to some I believe even Mitchell Trubisky once. Like, you have been embarrassed by this team. Okay? And every time I watch Lamar Jackson go up against Pittsburgh, I love watching him struggle. Okay? Not a hater, whatever. I'm a Lamar Jackson guy at the end of the day. But he needs to look himself in the damn mirror and realize our best chance of winning this game is getting Derrick Henry involved, limiting my number of throws I make a game. Like, you just have to. Throw the ball 26 times a game. No more, no less. Okay? Unless you very, really, really need to. Okay? Run the ball. Use your feet. You are a athlete. Run the damn ball. That's what got you MVP, your first MVP. That's what won you a Heisman Trophy. That's what, made you a first round pick. Okay? Your ability to use your legs. So go out there and use your legs. Stop going away from it. If you have to run the ball as a quarterback 8 times, 10 times a game, go for it. Be smart. Use your feet. Use the best part of you. Do not play into their strengths. As a defense, okay? And it just bothers me every time I watch him go into a big game, and it's the same story. He sits back, he tries to break down the defense, throwing the ball, ... Derrick Henry's not getting his touches. You're playing for the division championship here. The division title. Okay? So this whole not giving Derrick Henry his touches, not wearing him down for the playoffs, you need to make sure you win your division. If there's a chance to win your division, go out there and win your division, okay? Especially if there's no George Pickens. If there's no George Pickens playing on Saturday, you have no excuse to lose this game. We've seen how bad this Pittsburgh offense is without George Pickens, okay? So go out there and win this game. Go prove to everybody who you are, but play to your strengths. Okay, I can't believe we're sitting here at a 2-time MVP and telling him to play to his strengths. You know why Nikola Jokic is a 3-time MVP and why he's the best player in the world? Because he plays to his strengths. He doesn't change a thing about him. Okay, he just does what's necessary. He rebounds the ball. He play makes. Okay, he oh my God, I don't even want to get into this no more because I got into it earlier. But Lamar Jackson, it's a must-win game. You cannot go 1-5 versus Pittsburgh in your career and lose to them twice, especially at home. Okay, you just cannot, especially if they have no George Pickens. Like, if you lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers without George Pickens, all this Lamar Jackson, 3rd-time MVP, greatest year of his career, has got to go down the drain and be thrown out. Because this would be one of the worst losses I've seen this year, okay? By somebody in the top echelon of quarterbacks. Man, I can't believe I've been ranting about Lamar Jackson and quarterbacks for a very long time. But I want to get into the Chicago Bears, okay? Chicago Bears, obviously, Caleb Williams has been my guy. I've been very highly on him. I'm a USC fan. I watched him grow and to develop, win a Heisman with us, one, bad half of football away against Utah from making the college football playoff. I was there for the ups and the downs and obviously the 8-4 year the next year. So listen, I feel there's a lot of issues with the Chicago Bears right now, okay? First and foremost, listen, these weapons that they have been hyping up this entire year, last year, DJ Moore was a 1,500-yard receiver. Keenan Allen was a all-pro caliber receiver. Rome Odunze was supposed to be this great guy who I'm not down on Rome, but I still think Rome's going to be a great player. But listen, Caleb Williams dropped back, first pass, incomplete, drop pass by Keenan Allen. Comes back, next play, drop pass, Keenan Allen. Comes back on 3rd and 10, throws an absolute dime to Rome Odunze. Rome doesn't catch it with his hands. He catches it with his face mask, bounces right off his face mask, incomplete. 4th and 10. The next play, he goes out there and throws a touchdown. Remarkable touchdown throw, by the way. Okay? But, listen, DJ Moore too. I understand DJ Moore had a great year, and he's a good receiver. Don't get me wrong, he's a good receiver. Is he a great receiver? I really don't know. I am not confident in saying he's a great receiver. Why? Because he had one great year, and all of a sudden he got paid like it. He got treated like it. He got talked about, oh man, this guy's legit. Justin Fields fed him the ball because there was nobody else to throw the ball to. Okay? And so listen, obviously receivers are divas, especially when you get paid, and you've seen that. He got paid, and now he's a diva. He's begging for the ball. He's calling for the ball. So they try to get him the ball in his hands, and I've even seen him get strapped up and not get open. These receivers, they played the Detroit Lions, and in the first half of that game, every single buddy out there was getting locked up, strapped up, okay? Nobody was open. They weren't giving Caleb Williams no opportunities to make any plays, make any throws, okay? And yes, some of it is on Caleb Williams too. Don't get me wrong. I'm still on that train. Caleb Williams needs a lot of work to improve on, okay? But these receivers have not been great. And I don't care what anybody says. The help around Caleb is great. If he fails, it's on him. No, it's not. Okay? There is receiver problems. Keenan Allen does not look the same. He looks a little bit overweight, looks a little out of shape. Separation is not there. A lot of drops. DJ Moore, he does more crying than he does production, okay? And Rome Odunze, he's still very, very young, okay? Everyone's like, yeah, he's a first-round pick. He's young. We don't know what he's going to turn into yet. He could just be another average wide receiver 2 in this league. Who knows? But we don't know yet because he's a rookie, okay? So let's figure this out. Let's not analyze this team for what the potential is and accept it for what it is. This was a defense that before they traded for Montez Sweat was a bottom 30 defense in the league. You trade from Montez Sweat, you become top 10, and then this year, all of a sudden, Eberflus, you're supposed to be great defensively. You have flashes early on, and then all of a sudden, boom, the offense is not clicking. So now the defense starts to fall apart. Defensive-minded head coach, all of a sudden, boom, the defense is not showing up. Wow, and now the defense is awful. You have Jalen Johnson, who plays great. Obviously, he's an all-pro corner, one of the best in the game. Okay, that pass rush is solid. You're not very good against the run. You've been exposed in that secondary and that back end as well. And what does that sound like? It sounds like the Las Vegas Raiders. Say what you want. Okay, say what you want. Okay, we had Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. We just traded for Brock Bowers, right? That was like that. That's a Rome Odunze getting added into that situation. Okay, quarterback, different situation. Agreed. But last year, we get AP, interim head coach. Boom, our defense looks like a top 5 defense in the league. Start the year off, we show flashes of an elite defense. And all of a sudden, boom, now we look like one of the worst defenses of football. Okay, and that's how it's been the entire year. So, let's just accept it for what it is. We overanalyze this whole Chicago Bears situation. Matt Eberflus, not a great head coach. I don't really like what he's been doing. And listen, the Caleb Williams from USC, I've watched a lot of Caleb Williams football. One of the biggest things about Caleb Williams was he was not scared to make any damn throw. Whether it was good or bad habits, good habits. He was never scared to make any throw. And now he sits there and he is scared to throw anything. Okay? He is clearly in his own head. He is clearly out of, rhythm with the offense and with his players and with the scheme of things, right? And to be honest with you, I believe that comes down to the whole Matt Eberflus situation. I believe Matt Eberflus comes in this offseason, the whole offseason, says, Caleb, just don't turn the ball over. Don't make any big mistakes. And this defense is going to be so good. Our running back's going to be good. We're going to have a running game. We're going to have good receivers. We're going to score just enough points behind a very great defense. We're going to be defensive-led, and we're going to win games that way behind our defense, not through our offense. Because that's how it's looked. Because every time you see Caleb Williams down 14, down 7, trailing in the second half, and then he starts to just let it loose, whether he makes mistakes or not, you start to see the real Caleb Williams. You start to see the good, the amazing throws, the poor throws, the bad reads, the staring down, the receiver and the DB coming in to make a big play. And what does that sound like? The Las Vegas Raiders. We got this whole team. Gardner Minshew comes in. The whole goal is to just not turn the ball over. You start the year off. You want to lead behind the defenses. Don't turn the ball over, and our defense can win his games. That's what happened last year when we won 4 of our last 5, or 4 of our last 4 and 3 in our last 7, whatever it was. But that's all I'm saying is maybe this roster is just not as good as it seems. Maybe this roster is just a bit overrated, and that's okay. Okay, Keenan Allen does not look the same. DJ Moore, 1-year wonder? How many times does that happen ever in our lives? Happens all the time. Nobody was sure Jordan Love was going to be great this year. Okay? Nobody was, after that 1 year he had, right? Nobody was sure what he was going to turn into. Okay? So, any of these 1 year wonder guys, you've seen it all the time. They have their best year. They maximize what they want to get paid. They get paid. All of a sudden, boom. You see it all the time. Like, it's just, you see that with three-point shooters in the NBA. When Duncan Robinson started the whole thing, amazing year. Shoots crazy, like 45% from three. Boom, gets paid. That's when he starts the trend. Shooters getting paid. And shooters have one good year. They get paid like it. And then all of a sudden, they can't find a way onto the rotation, onto the court. Okay? So that's all I'm saying. Maybe we just looked at this team and just obviously had too much, we were too high on the Chicago Bears and where this was going. Okay. Getting into Thursday Night Football, predicting preview, however you want to call it. The Denver Broncos go on the road to play the Los Angeles Chargers tomorrow. The Chargers won in Denver the last time they met up, 24-16, 24-0 going into the fourth quarter. Denver scores 16 straight to end the game that way. Who do you got? Who do we feel in here, right? Listen, the Chargers are kind of in a situation where they're playing for a playoff spot, obviously. So is Denver. They're both playing for a playoff spot here. Denver has looked better, offensively the last 3 to 4 weeks. Softer schedule, so it obviously helps. Obviously, last week against Indianapolis, you have 3 picks by Michael Penix. And, again, it happens. Rookie ups and downs. So now I'm sitting here thinking, do I think he's going to have another down, or do I think he's going to have an up? And Justin Herbert, he is due for a big game, like a great game, like just a masterclass, because, he's getting on a lot of these games where he's losing, but he's looking the part. And then, now people are questioning his ability to play quarterback and to lead a winning team and stuff like that. I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I think the Chargers, it's going to be another, again, one-score game, 8 points, 7 points. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down to a field goal. Very LA Chargers versus KC like, the way that game ended. I think the Chargers are going to be able to do enough offensively to score enough points to win. And then I also think Denver, I think Bo Nix will make a mistake or two. Not necessarily meaning 2 interceptions, but there will be some mistakes. Unless Courtland Sutton has a big-time game. But no, I'm sticking with the Chargers here. I think the Chargers are going to go in here and be at home. You're at home. You played very good at home this year. You already beat them on the road. You did the hard part. So now it's time to go home and close it out that way. And I think there's going to be some rookie woes here. I still don't think Denver is a solidified playoff team, and I think the Chargers are. So I'm going to go with the Chargers here. One-score game, very close game, AFC West type style games. Boom. Now the last topic of discussion for the day. We're getting into the NBA Cup Championship. Obviously, if you're not an if you're an NBA casual, or if you don't really watch basketball every single day like I do, right? And you didn't watch the NBA Cup, it was a very good, the whole NBA Cup, actually, all the games we got were pretty good, pretty action-packed. The Rockets played OKC. Before that, you had OKC playing the Dallas Mavericks, right? And then Giannis has to go through Orlando, and I forget who they played in the semifinal. I forget. Oh, the Hawks. That's right. The Hawks go on that miracle run. Trae Young, man, what a guy. But listen, Giannis goes out there and absolutely dominates. He's proving to everybody why he should be regarded as one of the best players in the world, or not, if not the best player in the world. I mean, him and Jokic are just so great at what they do. And with the shooting they had around them last night was just remarkable. Gary Trent Jr. came alive when it mattered most, right? Dame, I thought he was going to have an off night, and because he was kind of struggling efficiency-wise from 3 games leading up to that, and he showed up. Went out there, I think 5 threes is what he made yesterday. He showed up when he needed it. Just a little bit of playmaking. Brook Lopez making big-time shots. Andre Jackson showing up, being great defensively, being a menace against his OKC team. But, listen, shout out to the Bucks. Shout out to Darvin Ham, you know what I'm saying? The undefeated in NBA Cup play. Shout out to Doc Rivers for, changing the narrative, starting 2-10, and all of a sudden, boom, you're righting the ship. You've lost, I think, 3 games since that moment where everyone was saying, damn, this guy should get fired. And then winning the NBA Cup, just another incentive to this team and to these guys to keep motivated, right? And I love the post-game talk presser where Darvin Ham's talking about let's not celebrate tonight. Let's not pop the champagne or not pop the Modelo's, whatever the Michael and whatever the hell beer they had back there. He said let's use this and focus on celebrating after we win a championship, which I love. Keep your mind on the goal. Don't get too ahead of yourself because obviously the Lakers got too ahead of themselves last year after the NBA Cup. We won it. Looked like the best team in basketball at that time. Clearly, we had a little incentives to win 500,000 and put it in our pockets, right? And then after that, we fell off. So I'm glad to see that for the Bucks so they can stay locked in going forward. Obviously, I don't know how much I like the Bucks matching up in a 7-game series against a team like, even OKC to be honest with you, but a team like Dallas or Boston or even Cleveland for that matter, right? Like I don't know how I like them matching up against those teams, but it's still going to be a fun team to watch. And with how much passion Giannis has been coming with lately, you just can't help but be enthusiastic. Be enthusiastic for what this team can bring, right? I'm gonna drink some water real quick. When you talk for this long, you don't sit down and have no water. You just, what I'm saying, you get a little cotton mouth, get a little dry mouth. So I gotta come out here, take care of myself. But listen, the biggest topic of discussion that I got from this game, right? And listen, I was very angry last night. Why? Because OKC decides to only make 5 threes that yesterday, 2 of them from SGA. Nobody could hit a damn shot. Jalen Williams, you kind of wanted to see him be a secondary, scorer, facilitator, ball handler type guy alongside SGA, and that was not the case yesterday. I would like to see him be a bit more aggressive. That's me personally. Maybe it's because I had a little bit of money put on JW yesterday as well. But, it is what it is. But listen, the biggest thing for me is I'm not worried about OKC. I think that it's had a bad game. When you make 5 threes in a game in this day and age, you're not going to win any games, right? And especially when you're down by 20 and you're trying to get into this game, you still have to go out there and shoot threes. And they just weren't falling, right? So I'm not worried about this team. SDA is an MVP candidate. MVP, like he's in that conversation as one of the best players in the world. Conversations have been had about him being better than Luka Doncic at this current moment. Okay, he's being discussed as possibly one of the best OKC Thunder to ever put on the jersey. So that's some elite class. Okay, so the biggest takeaway I got from this game was, SGA, we know that him and Joel Embiid have been in talks as free throw merchants, right? And I've defended SGA in the past. I said, listen, if you can't guard him, you can't guard him. Well, if he gets to the free throw line because he's coming downhill so much, he's making you choose which way you want to get cooked, a little like Kyrie where it's like, you kind of determine how it's going to go. I got a little step back mid-range. I could post up, hit a fadeaway. I can attack to the rim and get past you, hit your little Euro step, yo. But, yo. Okay, but listen, last night was one of those games where the shot was not falling and the refs were letting them play. Okay, which again, I love that for the refs. I love not letting the whistle be a huge factor in this game. Okay, outside of the Lou Dort tech, that was kind of bullshit, right? But everything else was kind of a clean officiated game. But SGA not getting free throws, it really just made me sit here and I'm like, he's got put up 24 shots. He's got 19 points, I believe, is what he ended up with, or 24. Put up okay, at this current moment he had 19 shots. I believe he had 12 points. I believe he only made 6 shots going into that point. And when I looked at why his numbers were so low with how many shots he had, I looked at how many free throws he had and he only had 1 free throw attempt going into halfway through the third. And then I was kind of like, free throw merchant, kind of went through my head. And I'm a big SGA fan, so I don't ever want to. I'm not gonna disrespect. I'm disrespecting my guy a little bit, but I'm gonna ride with him in OKC this year. But it just kind of shocked me in a way because I looked at that stat, looked at that box score at that current moment, and I said 1 free throw attempted. Maybe maybe he's just not getting the whistle today. And then I seen him keep going and putting up shots and shots and shots and tough shots. Don't get me wrong, tough shot maker. When they're falling, they're falling. That's his kind of his game. And when they're not falling and you're not getting the free throw call, he was kind of just putting up shots. Okay, and so it's just like Jason Tatum. You've had the same conversation with Jason Tatum. Although Tatum doesn't get to the line as much because he's so jump shot reliant. SGA gets more free throws. So when you're not seeing those free throw numbers, it's like, what I'm saying. But it's like Joel Embiid in the sort, the same kind of thing. You don't get those free throws. You don't get those 10 points from the free throw line. It's kind of like, But it was just something I looked at and I just was like, damn, is he really a free throw merchant? Obviously, I love watching him play basketball regardless, right? But does his free throw attempts really affect how he plays games? So that's something I looked at and I'm going to pay more closer attention to throughout the rest of the season. Like if the shot's not falling, does the free throw attempts really matter? Like, can he get shots without getting to the free throw line? Which we've seen him do. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? But it just came to my head a little bit when I was watching the game. I was like, man, free throw merchant here. Man, that's kind of crazy. He's struggling one free throw. Okay, I see why he's struggling. You know what I'm saying? But it just be like that. Not every night's going to be your night. But I still love watching SGA play. But with that being said, that is the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on post notifications if you're watching this on YouTube. If you watch this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, be sure to follow the show, give it a 5-star rating, as it helps the algorithm. And if you enjoy this content, make sure to tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend. And if you enjoy this podcast and you want to share it with somebody else who enjoys sports, just go tell a friend, share my podcast, go tell them, go check us out. And if you want to go gamble with me on Twitter, Young Rich Podcast Picks, every football day, Thursday nights, college football, yada yada. I'm on there every single football game possible. I'm posting picks, so you let me know if y'all want to go check that out. And if you want to check out my TikTok, Young Rich Podcast as well, because we've been doing good over there as well. With that being said, we out.